Self-worth, by definition, is knowing your own value without having to earn it or prove it. It's your host, Angelina Dano, here to guide you on the worthy journey where you finally stop seeking validation and start owning your power. Ready to level up? Let's get started. Hi, my love. Welcome back to The Worthy Journey. I'm so glad you're here because by the end of this episode, you will feel the inspiration and courage you need to start transforming your life and your self-worth. If you've ever felt stuck in your own mind, battling self-doubt, or wondering if you're ever truly enough, you are not alone. This episode is all about those moments, the ones that make us question everything and how transformation really happens when we face them head on. Now, before we dive in, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know what's a struggle or breakthrough you're facing right now. Send me a message on Instagram or TikTok or any of my socials, or you can leave a comment wherever you're listening. I read every message and your stories keep me going. So if this episode resonates with you, please share it with someone who needs this. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I have so much more goodness coming your way. Now, I realized something recently. So many of you tune in each week. You follow me on social media, you read my posts, but I've never fully let you in. You see the advice, you see the growth, but you don't always see where it came from because I haven't told you all of it. So I'm doing something I've never done here before. I'm sharing my story, the real story, unfiltered, messy, beautiful, complicated, the story that brought me here, not just as a coach or content creator, but as a human being who's walked through the fire and lived to tell the story. And I'm not stopping there. I'm also sharing stories from some of the incredible people that have transformed my life. So I hope that they will inspire you and remind you that you're not alone on this journey. This episode is about transformation, so let me tell you an inspiring story about the very first person I coached. She came to me because she wasn't happy in her life, but the thing was, she couldn't even figure out why. So I asked her, well, what parts of your life felt unfulfilling? She paused for a second and said, basically all of them. And then she started spilling it all. I hate the way I look. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not pretty enough. I want to work out, but my depression makes it so hard for me to get out of bed some days. I feel stuck financially. I hate my job. It's draining me. I know the kind of future that I want, but the career I dream about feels a million miles away. And I'm not even happy in my relationship. My boyfriend doesn't treat me right. I'm pretty sure he's cheating on me. So I gently asked her, what's holding you back from leaving? She looked down and said, I'm scared to be alone. What if there's no one better out there? I'm not healed enough. Who else would even be able to deal with me? And he's really not that bad. And then came the justifications. The ones we all use when we're trying to protect our pain and make it make sense. She said, okay, yeah, we fight a lot, but that's normal, right? Sure, he calls me names and he ghosts me when he's mad, but he says I'm the only one he wants. And he did bring me chicken nuggets after one of our arguments. She really said that with a straight face. I know. So I moved on and I asked her about her dreams. Well, you mentioned career. What kind of career would light you up? She explained, I'd love to start my own business, something where I can really help people, but I'm too young. Who would even take me seriously? I'll wait until I have my doctorate and I'm more established. Now, I could see it so clearly. It wasn't her circumstances holding her back. It was her beliefs. She was carrying old stories like, I'm not good enough. I have to look a certain way to be worthy. Love means tolerating pain. My dreams don't count until I'm older, more perfect, more put together. If I try and fail, it'll prove I was never enough to begin with. She was living in an identity built from survival, an identity that didn't belong to her. She was waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel healed or chosen instead of choosing herself. So we got right into work. We started untangling the shame. We challenged every voice that said she had to settle. We rebuilt her confidence, her clarity, and her sense of self. She started working out, not from punishment, but from love. She began taking small, aligned steps towards her dream life. She finally left that relationship that made her feel small. Now she's dating someone that adores her. They just moved in together and adopted their first fur baby. Now, the best of all, she quit her 9 to 5 job and now runs her business full time. She wakes up excited. She loves her body and finally feels at home in her own skin. She loves the reflection staring back at her, and she is no longer just surviving, now she's thriving. But here's the thing. Her life didn't magically change overnight. She did. Now, can you guess who my first client was? It was me. I was the very first person I coached, and this is exactly why I do what I do. And this isn't even the full story. It's about to get deep. So for most of my life, I fought a silent battle that no one could really see. On the outside, my life looked perfect. I had everything that I wanted. But on the inside, I was suffocating. It was like I was haunted by this dull, empty feeling that followed me around like a shadow. And nothing seemed capable of filling that void. I woke up every day exhausted and drained by the belief that if I just did more, became more, or lost a few more pounds, then I'd finally feel worthy. But even when I did all that, I still never felt enough. I spent nights replaying conversations, second-guessing every move, obsessing over every flaw, feeling like I was fundamentally broken. I rejected myself before anyone else could. I felt trapped in my mind, full of relentless self-criticism, a crippling fear of abandonment, and thoughts that left me questioning if I would ever feel at peace. I came from a childhood of trauma, but I still remember the exact moment my mental health plummeted. Trigger warning, this is pretty dark, so if you're not in a good place right now, I would recommend listening to another episode that isn't so heavy, but here it is. When I was 12 years old, my mother and my siblings moved out of state since, long story short, we were trying to sell the house. It never sold, and we were far apart for a really long time. So it was just me and my dad for several years, and he worked a lot, so he wasn't really home much. Basically, I spent the majority of my time alone. I had to grow up pretty quick and basically raise myself from that point on. I still remember the day that my family moved out. I remember feeling so sad, and I went to my sister's room, which was my usual go place to cry, but this time she wasn't there. It was just this dark, empty, cold room, and I've never felt more alone. I still remember it so vividly. It almost felt like this dark cloud was over me and my entire body was just in so much sadness, loneliness, and emotional pain. I remember thinking, everyone I love will eventually leave me. And it's the first time I ever felt hopeless. It's the first time I ever had thoughts of not wanting to be alive. And that was at 12 years old. I became extremely depressed. But at the time, I didn't know what it was until a psychologist came into school to give a presentation teaching us about mental health and depression. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this is me. I've been dealing with this, mood swings, social isolation, not eating, hemorrhoids. Well, I don't know if that last one was related to depression. Okay, all jokes aside, after school, I went to the school counselor's office and I slipped a note under her door that I wanted to talk to her. The next day, she pulled me out of class. I explained my situation that I just explained to you. She took one look at my grades and said, oh, well, at least it's not affecting your school performance. You have straight A's. Maybe you should try FaceTiming your mom. That was it. No depression screening. I never heard from her again. Everyone around me knew something was off. My family, my friends, my teachers. But I never got the help that I needed. So I carried that pain with me for over 10 years until I was an adult and sought therapy myself. What I thought was depression and anxiety was actually disguised as complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD, and I faced other battles that seemed impossible to overcome: disordered eating, body image issues, ADHD, social anxiety, abusive relationships, abandonment, paper cuts. You name it, I've probably been through it, and I hit rock bottom more times than I can count. But rock bottom has a way of showing you what truly matters. One day I hit such a low point that I made a decision. I refused to live this way anymore. I refused to identify as a victim, and I pursued every path I could. I spent years in therapy, earned a psychology degree, and worked in the mental health field. I dissected my thoughts, analyzed my past, and I tried to understand why I felt the way that I did, and more importantly, how could I feel better? And while these things helped in some ways, the same struggles kept resurfacing. It wasn't until I found the missing piece. Self-worth was the root of all of my struggles. This realization was like a light bulb moment, but what I realized next was even more important. There was no clear guide on how to actually build it. I saw 5 different therapists all asking how to heal my self-worth, and it was no help. Knowing why I struggled didn't change the fact that I was struggling. So I devoured every self-help book I could find, researched scientific studies, listened to countless podcasts, and I sought coaching. And in that journey, I experienced true change. 3 months of coaching did more for me than 5 years of therapy. This wasn't just about knowing all of the right answers. It was about rewiring my beliefs, reframing my experience, writing a new story, and stepping into a version of myself that had always been there waiting to be discovered. As I continued on my journey, I realized there was still this gap. People needed a clear, actionable roadmap to transform their lives like I had. So I became a certified life coach because I refused to let anyone face this battle alone. I chose this path for the little girl who no one is answering her cry for help. Hopefully one day she comes across my podcast or one of my videos and it's a beacon of hope. Now I give my clients the roadmap that I never had, helping them uncover their deep self-worth, break free from self-doubt, and step into a life that they've always dreamed of, without the years of struggle that I had to endure. And there's no better feeling than seeing the progress in my clients. I know what it's like to feel trapped by your own thoughts, to question your worth, and to feel like no matter how hard you try, you'll never be enough. The guilt wondering, why am I not happy? What's wrong with me? The fear that happiness might not be for you. I've been there, and I'm here to tell you that you don't have to stay there. Oof, I'm getting emotional. I don't say this for a pity party. I'm telling you this because maybe you can relate. I hope that this story can be one that inspires you and gives you hope. I came out of it on the other side, and I promise you I wouldn't change a thing. I am truly wholeheartedly grateful for all of my past experiences, good and bad, because they shaped who I am today. They've helped me grow and learn and made me a stronger and kinder person. When you find at least a small amount of gratitude for the past, you can finally feel at peace with it. If I didn't go through what I did, I might never have studied psychology, worked in the mental health field, became a coach, or even started this podcast to be able to share these stories that could help others. You know, when I got diagnosed with complex PTSD, my worst concern wasn't, am I going to get better? It was, can I still work in the mental health field with a mental health diagnosis? So I did what everyone does, and I went down the rabbit hole. I checked Reddit, the endless scroll where everyone is a self-proclaimed therapist giving me unsolicited advice. But it was actually a great idea, for once, because someone said to look up Marsha Lehman. You guys, listen to me when I tell you, when I read her story, I got goosebumps throughout my entire body. It brought me to tears. When she was a teenager, she went through tremendous abuse, developed borderline personality disorder, and was in and out of mental health hospitals. One day, she had a come-to-Jesus moment where she radically accepted everything in her life, and she went on to get her doctorate in psychology, healed her mental health, and became a psychologist. She saw the most at-risk patients with severe mental health disorders, including borderline personality disorder, PTSD, substance abuse, other personality disorders, and extreme difficulty managing emotions. She gave them the tools that she used to heal her mental health and created dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT. It is one of the most effective therapies for mood and personality disorders. But before this therapy existed, there was no treatment for these mental health disorders. They were kind of like lost causes, unfortunately. I get so emotional with her story because if she didn't go through all of those hard times in her life, the trauma, the mental health disorders, or if she was successful and one of those times she tried harming herself, she would have never been able to create this treatment and change the lives of millions of people. She probably wouldn't even have gone into the psychology field. And I relate to this so much because I've been in that dark, hopeless place wondering if I would ever get out of it. And not only did I make it out on the other end, but now I get to help people who were once in that place. So if you're in that place now, I really want you to hear me when I say this. You're not broken, you're not behind, you're not too far gone, and you especially will not feel this way forever. Just like there are different seasons on earth, there are different seasons in our lives. Whatever season you're in right now, it's temporary and it will pass, I promise you. I know it might feel like you're drowning in the weight of all of it, but the fact that you're here listening means that a part of you still believes in something better. Hold on to that. Healing doesn't happen in one big leap. It's built in tiny, almost invisible steps that you take every single day, even on the days where you think you're failing. One day you'll look back and realize you're living in a moment you once prayed for. And if you can't see that future for yourself yet, borrow my belief until you do. You're worthy of a life that feels good to wake up to. You are capable. You are enough. And you are going to make it through this, whatever you're going through. I'm actually going to read you a letter I wrote to myself to read whenever I was at rock bottom. Right now, you might be feeling hopeless, stuck, and overwhelmed, and like your thoughts are in a negative loop that is hard to get out of. I promise you that you will not feel like this forever. I am writing this from feeling completely depressed and hopeless a couple of months ago, thinking that pain would never go away. But I started doing things for my mental health and changing my negative thoughts to more positive ones, and now I am filled with so much happiness and joy. While it is true that life is full of ups and downs, remember that you will overcome your low points. Emotions are like waves in the ocean. You just have to flow with them. You might be thinking, okay, but am I going to have such intense ups and downs forever? And the answer is no. Your moods are so intense because you're dealing with distressing times right now. But some mental health issues can have a 99% remission rate. I promise you that whatever you are going through, it will be okay and you will have happy days again. You are strong and resilient. You've gotten through so much. Stop and think for a minute of everything you've gone through and how much you've grown. So now keep pushing. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Whatever you're feeling is an opportunity for you to heal, grow, and come out stronger. It's important to properly deal with these things and don't feel pressure to change your emotions. But to feel them is neutral and remember that they're temporary. Now is the time to take it easy, relax, distract yourself, connect, and regulate your nervous system. You are so strong for facing these emotions, and it takes a lot of energy, so I'm so proud of you. You clearly love and care about yourself so much because you're doing the work and you want to get better. And I promise you it will get better. It can only get better. It has to. This is a temporary time. Think of any problem you worried about or cried about in the past. I'm guessing 99% of them worked out and you had happy days again. You see, everything happens for a reason. Things are not happening to you, they are happening for you. I know this because I hit rock bottom and then a year later I was on cloud 9 for several years. Life consists of good and bad times. These bad times are needed to learn and to grow. Instead of imagining, what if I feel this way forever? Imagine, what if it all works out? You will have the life of your dreams and you will be so happy and abundant. But you didn't make it to that point because you gave up in the thick of it when it got tough. Imagine how many people you could help. But if you give up, then they didn't get that help that they needed. Maybe you're going through this so that you can learn from experience and help others. Imagine if you work so hard to get to do something, and right when you're about to cross the finish line, you give up. But if you didn't, you would have made it. You would have won. Imagine all the lives that you could impact and how differently those people would be without you. You don't need to change your whole life to be happy. Your circumstances don't necessarily have to change, but your perspective and mindset do. So when you're feeling this way, remember that your thoughts and emotions are based on perspective because of your current mood, which will change. You can change it now. That's the end of the letter that I wrote to myself to open whenever I hit a low point again in the future. I share this with you because maybe it's something that you needed to hear. I know it's easy for me to say all of this when I'm on the other side, and I don't mean any of this in an invalidating way. If you're suffering, I'm not saying to be fake positive. I say this to give you a tiny glimpse of hope. To remember that life is happening for me, not to me. How many times have bad things happened to you and later you ended up being grateful for it because it got you to where you are now? That's resilience. So many people get resilience wrong. They think it's bouncing back to where you were. But we don't bounce back, we bounce forward. If we go from A to C, we don't bounce back to A. We're still at C. You might have just fallen off of track, but you're not where you started. No. You've learned and you've made so much progress. You're getting back on track with all of the knowledge and the tools that you found along the way. You're not starting from point A. Maybe you just took a pause and got stuck for a second, but you're continuing from that point. And if you're really struggling to do this on your own and you want guidance along the way, this is why I created the Worthy Life Transformation, which is my signature coaching experience. It has helped countless individuals break free from self-doubt and reclaim their self-worth, and finally feel the success, confidence, and fulfillment that they've always deserved. They've learned how to regulate their emotions and so much more. So if you feel like you've tried everything and you're tired of doubting yourself, tired of feeling like you're never enough, tired of watching success feel hollow instead of fulfilling, real transformation is possible. I do offer some free coaching sessions every month. So if you'd like to explore this, apply for a free one-on-one coaching session with me to try it out. Visit www.theselfworthycoach.com or click the link below. I would be so honored to walk beside you on your healing journey. I really hope this episode was helpful and these stories gave a glimpse of hope for you. Thank you so much for listening today. I love and appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't yet, please subscribe and send this to a friend who needs to hear it. I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Until then, stay worthy. Disclaimer: the content shared in this podcast is for educational and inspirational purposes only. It's not a substitute for professional advice, therapy, medical treatment, or mental health services. Please seek support from a qualified professional if you need it. Got it? Good. I'll see you in the next episode.